Honestly, it really pisses me off.
Yeah, and it should.
I think out of everything, that's the thing that kind of gets under my skin the most when people are comparing us.
You never thought a name from the past could resurface and shake the peace you fought to build. But the moment Rubi Rose's name started trending again, everything around DDG and Halle's quiet tension began to shift. She wasn't trying to start a fire, at least not publicly, but the internet remembered how her story once intertwined with his, that old screenshot of messages, that single emoji in her tweet months before their breakup. They all returned like ghosts the moment people noticed DDG moving differently. You could sense the irritation behind Halle's calm, especially when people began digging up those early 2023 posts. Back then, Rubi had accused DDG of reaching out while still with Halle, calling him a typical YouTube rapper who can't let go of old flames. At that time, it was brushed off as drama, but now, months after the breakup, it feels heavier. Fans are split, some claiming Rubi predicted the downfall, others accusing her of fueling the current chaos just by being mentioned. DDG stayed silent at first, but silence only made things worse. When he finally spoke, his tone wasn't defensive. It was tired, reflective, almost like he'd accepted that people would always connect him to Rubi no matter what. And even though Rubi hasn't said anything new, her name alone now exists as a shadow between every headline about him and Halle. You start to wonder if that silence means she's moved on, or if she's just watching the entire story unfold from a distance, satisfied that time did the talking for her. You notice how Chloe never speaks directly, but her silence always says enough. Whenever her sister's name trends for the wrong reasons, she finds a way to respond without using a single headline or tag. It's subtle, a lyric in a new song, a late-night post about loyalty, or a quote about peace that hits a little too perfectly. You can tell she's watching everything unfold between Halle and DDG, even when she pretends she isn't. Family bonds have a way of making pain personal, and Chloe's loyalty has never been something she hides. When the breakup became official, fans didn't need confirmation from Halle. Chloe's tone changed first. Her interviews became colder, her captions more protective. People began pulling up clips from old podcasts where she'd spoken about knowing your worth and not letting love make you forget yourself, claiming they were indirect messages to her sister, and maybe they were. Maybe Chloe understood the cost of fame too well, how public love stories end up dissected by strangers, turned into entertainment instead of empathy. Behind the camera flashes, Chloe wasn't playing the sister who wanted revenge. She was the sister who wanted quiet. But every
I ain't just throwing that pussycat around this shit. Damn! How you gonna whisper dick and say pussycat? Right.
time DDG posted a cryptic story or a lyric that hinted at regret, the comments filled with her name. People wanted her reaction, her anger, her confrontation. Yet she stayed still, letting the silence protect Halle in ways words couldn't. Because when a family's dignity is tested in public, sometimes the strongest response isn't a shout, it's restraint. And Chloe mastered that long before the world started paying attention. You start noticing how quickly the internet shifts from sympathy to speculation. What began as concern for Halle and quiet curiosity about DDG's silence turned into endless debates, edited clips, and theories that grew bigger than the truth itself. Every tweet, every old post, every quote got recycled into new meanings. One side called Halle a victim of manipulation. The other painted DDG as misunderstood. But through all the noise, the same names kept circling back. Rubi Rose and Chloe Bailey, two completely different women now connected by the weight of one fractured relationship. Rubi's past messages resurfaced like proof, even though time had already buried them. Screenshots, voiceovers, reaction videos, everything got repackaged as evidence. And while fans turned those fragments into timelines, Chloe was being dissected too. Her small gestures of support were labeled as shade, her confidence rebranded as aggression. It became less about what was real and more about who could make the most convincing story. For you, it's hard to ignore how digital whispers become louder than facts. DDG's lyrics started getting decoded like diary entries, while Halle's public appearances were analyzed frame by frame. Nobody talked about their music anymore, or their work, or their child. Everything reduced to who hurt who stayed silent, and who might speak next. In a way, the breakup stopped belonging to them. It turned into public property, a storyline the internet refuses to stop writing. And no matter how much they try to move on, the crowd keeps pulling them back, demanding one more chapter that they never asked to tell.
Yeah, my son makes me smile. Like, Yeah.
If I have a bad day, I go to him. He don't care.
See,
He don't care what.
I always say that shit. I always say that.
You can see the shift in DDG before he even speaks about it. The confident smile that once looked effortless now feels calculated, like every expression is measured against how it'll be clipped and shared online. His interviews get shorter, his live streams quieter. The man who built his brand on transparency starts choosing silence, not because he doesn't care, but because every word now risks being turned into a weapon. You can tell he's tired, not from guilt, but from the exhaustion of constantly defending his version of the story in a space that only believes drama. When he finally does talk, it's never direct. Instead of names, he drops lines in songs, verses about trust, betrayal, and losing something he wasn't ready to lose. Fans dissect every lyric, convinced they're all aimed at Halle. Some hear apology, others hear bitterness, and somewhere between the beats, you can almost sense him trying to regain control of his own narrative. But it's too late. The internet already decided what kind of man he is, and once an image hardens online, no statement can soften it. The more he tries to move forward, the more the past lingers. Ruby's name still follows him like a rumor that never ages, and Halle's silence keeps the mystery alive. Even his attempts to show maturity are seen as manipulation. Every photo, every caption, every second of eye contact on camera gets examined. You start to realize that in today's culture, redemption isn't about growth. It's about whether the audience feels entertained enough to forgive you. And DDG's story, no matter how it ends, has become too valuable for the world to let go. You start to notice how Halle carries herself differently now. The softness that once defined her public image hasn't disappeared. It's just quieter, more selective. Every post feels intentional, every appearance controlled. She no longer lets the public see her pain directly, but it lingers in the pauses between her smiles. You can sense that she's learning how to exist in peace again, even when the world keeps trying to pull her back into noise. Her silence, once mistaken.
What's Love Got to Do with It is iconic, and I think it's so hard to play another real life person, but to put your own spin to it and have it be so real and authentic is really hard, and I'd have to say that. There's way too many to pick from, but that's my all-time favorite.
And for weakness has turned into her shield. Behind that calm exterior, you can feel the distance she's built, not just from DDG, but from everything that once blurred the line between love and performance. She avoids interviews that might ask about him, skips red carpets where the wrong question could turn into another headline. And when she does speak, it's in metaphors, in lyrics that sound like closure disguised as melody. Fans call it healing, critics call it strategy, but maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just survival. The internet, however, refuses to move on. Every new photo sparks another round of comparisons. People question whether her happiness is real or rehearsed, whether her glow is revenge or relief. But through all of it, she never gives them what they want. No tears, no confessions, no validation, just silence. And that silence says everything the drama tried to drown out. Because while everyone else is still busy proving who was right or wrong, Halle seems to have already understood that peace isn't found in being believed. It's in no longer needing to explain yourself. You start seeing the story bend again, this time without either of them saying a word. It's Ruby and Chloe who take the spotlight now, not through confrontation, but through timing. Ruby posts a short clip, a studio video, nothing direct, just her rapping about the past that still gets brought up like it's trending. No names, no confirmations, just enough rhythm to spark 1,000 comments. People flood her mentions, calling it a subliminal, claiming she's throwing shade at Halle. She doesn't reply, doesn't deny it. Silence becomes her power too, the same silence that once belonged only to Halle. At the same time, Chloe appears on stage performing a song about sisterhood and strength. Her tone is raw, her eyes sharp, and though it's art, it feels like protection. The crowd connects the dots instantly. The internet loves that kind of symmetry. Two women, opposite energies, both orbiting the same name. In less than an hour, clips from Ruby and Chloe are stitched together on TikTok, captioned with lines like "the ex and the sister," speaking the same truth. You can tell how easily narratives form now, how perception replaces fact, and how two separate women end up carrying the emotional weight of someone else's story. Ruby's confidence is labeled provocation. Chloe's strength becomes proof of a deeper wound. Neither of them intended to feed the fire, but somehow their actions keep it burning. And as the comments spiral, you realize no one's really talking about DDG or Halle anymore. It's the echoes around them that have taken over the entire stage. You begin to realize how stories like this never really end. They just fade into quieter versions of themselves. The noise slows down, the headlines move on, but the people inside the chaos still have to live with what's left behind. DDG posts less now, only showing fragments, studio lights, muted captions, empty spaces that say more than his words ever could. He looks like someone who's learned how heavy public love can feel once the audience decides it's their own. And even though he tries to build something new, the shadow of what happened never fully disappears. It's just part of his reflection now. Halle carries her peace differently, not like she's moved on, but like she's learned how to stop explaining herself. She smiles again, but there's distance in it, the kind that comes from being forced to grow up too fast in front of everyone. Her silence isn't defensive anymore, it's selective. She's learned that protecting her world doesn't mean hiding, it means choosing who gets to see it. Ruby keeps her mystery intact, living like the past never existed, while Chloe stands steady beside her sister, unshaken and deliberate. None of them are talking, yet the internet still does, recycling moments, reinterpreting silence, rewriting meaning into every action. You can feel how strange it is, how something so personal became a shared spectacle that refuses to die out completely. But maybe that's the price of being seen in the digital age, where endings don't happen when people walk away, but only when the audience finally gets bored enough to stop watching.